Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma. This guy thing item bobbling to my right now on screen. You can see the tippy top of his real head there. One Mr. Brian E. Roach. Brian, you need a new bobblehead, my friend. That one doesn't kind of look like you anymore. How's it going?
There you go. See, I got another one.
Yeah, I'll get you in frame here. And I was just doing the same thing. Sometimes I'm like not settled in my chair, not really settled with who this football team is. We've got another game to cover this upcoming weekend, as promised. We'll try not to be a broken record as much from the previous episode, so go back and check some of that on our thoughts about some of the quarterbacking stuff that will be important in this game. We're still going to cover some of that, but first and foremost, as we like to do, a little bit of housekeeping. This is the 29th regular season meeting between the Steelers and Chicago Bears, and the Steelers in Chicago are 12-1 all time, having most recently won there. I believe this is the last time they played there, actually, Brian, or close to it, September 24th, 2017. Usually when the Steelers go to Chicago, weird shit happens. It's kind of like when they go to California. They used to go to Oakland. It used to be weird. I can remember the whole Jordan Berry knocking the ball out of the back of the end zone before halftime type deal several years ago, and just the craziness that is. Chicago's on a little bit of a hot streak of their own here. They have won 5 of their last 6 games since their week 5
a little bit of a hot streak.
Yeah, you know, it's hard for me to judge what this team is. I mean, obviously they should have talent. They've had a ton of first-round picks. They've had tons of money to spend in free agency over the last few seasons. That's meant for the parity here in the NFL. And they're coming, you know, they're at home, and no one's ever going to look down at the Steelers. And it's not like this is a place where the Steelers traditionally have success. However, the Steelers are also bringing with them, is it the owner of the Chicago Bears? We just don't know if he's going to play. One Mr. Aaron Rodgers, who he has traditionally over the years, I got to look up his record now against Chicago, but he's only lost like a few times to them, period, anywhere, wherever it's been. So, and especially in Chicago, he claims to be the owner, but a left wrist injury, not entirely disclosed fully here. But you've got 2 division leaders here, a 7-3 Chicago Bears team that's holding on to basically kind of a half game over the Packers, who have that tie earlier in the year with the Dallas Cowboys. The Steelers are 6-4 and also holding a game advantage over the Baltimore Ravens as these two head into Soldier Field, which, you know, this might be one of the last times they play there. They're talking about a whole new Bears stadium, and that'll be exciting too. Mike Tomlin is 1-3 all time against the Bears himself, so not a fantastic record. The head coach of the Bears, Ben Johnson, he's 7-3. Obviously his first year with the team. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff Eastern time, noon Central. Natural grass surface, about maybe 67,000 people. Very similar playing surface and setup as to Acrisure. This game on CBS with Ian Eagle, JJ Watt, and Evan Washburn on the sidelines. Obviously, Steelers Audio Network, as we usually discuss, with Rob King, Max Starks, and Missy Matthews. If you want the Steelers, call on Sirius Radio. It's 209 XM 383, Internet 826. So you got to go into the 380s for my XM folks. Don't look at it around 225 this week. It's going to be further down those additional sports channels. And of course, CBS, KDK locally. Paramount Plus, if you are in the blue region, you will receive this game. Brian's going to ask me who's in the red, and I have the answer for him. It's the Colts and Chiefs, and rightfully so.
All right, I'm going to try and guess some of these. I'm guessing orange is the Packers and the Lions.
They're not on. Okay, so I will tell you who's actually on CBS, and CBS doesn't have the double header this week.
Oh, okay.
So that'll help you a little bit here too. So
yes, it will.
They do have late games, but they don't have the doubleheader. So we already know the red is the Colts and the Chiefs. We know the blue is the Steelers and Bears, which of course, the Bears, the northern portion of Illinois, upper parts of Michigan, Wisconsin, some of Iowa, much to the dismay of our managing editor Tina Rivers. Doesn't look like she'll be getting this game in her half of Iowa. And then of course some of Minnesota and North Dakota. I guess they're Bears fans there maybe, or they're at least paying attention because of Green Bay. But the orange, actually, this is going to surprise you, Brian. The orange that with the vertical stripes is the Jacksonville Jaguars, Arizona Cardinals in the late window.
That's the dumbest coverage ever then.
Yeah, I don't understand that one. Why
would Green Bay and Detroit want to watch that game? They would want to watch this game because it's within their conference.
Yeah, you see Nashville. Dumb. Nashville is getting the Jacksonville, Arizona, but it would make sense if you want to pay attention to the Jaguars are in the AFC South. The Cleveland Brownies are in that really light kind of shade of and it's not even like a teal. I don't know what that is.
I think that's still too much coverage for them.
Yeah, them and the Raiders pretty much only in the spots that you would think. Northeast Ohio up through Erie, Pennsylvania is going to get screwed out of this game, I think. This is interesting because my old stomping grounds of Youngstown, Ohio, right there almost on the western Pennsylvania border, they're getting the Steelers game and all the Browns fans are bitching and complaining. And then you've got, it looks like maybe, Erie's still good. Erie's still got the Steelers. And then you get up into Buffalo, they get the KC game. And then I know we're covering more of this than usual, but there's a lot of
colors. This is the most colorful map we've seen.
Yeah, there's 6-7 colors here. There's actually 6. The other ones
are
yellow. The yellow is the Jets and the Ravens, which
that makes sense.
There's a lot of scattered coverage for this game and for this window here for CBS. They have a lot. And then the Patriots and
Bengals Patriots.
Yep, Bengals Patriots in the green. So just if you're in West Virginia, most of Virginia, Western Pennsylvania, even Philly and Scranton, you're going to get this game. If you happen to be in like Southern Ohio or parts of Kentucky, if you happen to be in DC, the Metro DC area, Baltimore, Harrisburg, you're going to get the Ravens. It's really choppy, folks. So you might need to head to the bar. You might need to pull out the radio. You might need the Sunday ticket. You might need your nefarious means to hit the high seas to catch this one. So it's just a very, very messy map this week, which is crazy because there's only 5 other games for the regular Sunday, not including Sunday night football. You've got 3 in the early Fox window and 2 in the late Fox window. That's probably the most that we've done of the TV coverage ever on this show, by the way.
Yes, it is.
That was a lot. I'll pull it up one more time for those that are watching YouTube. Also Spotify, we have a video channel there. And you know what? I've been testing putting this on Facebook, but I don't know how many people are actually watching it there, and that might be short-lived. So we'll try and maybe put it up there for some folks.
As you're looking at it, just again, stare at the Green Bay and Detroit areas and try and figure out why they're getting a Jacksonville game.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. Of course, this is courtesy 506 Sports, where you can find all of your over-the-air antenna coverage. And that covers you also too, even if you're on cable or whatever. Those are all your local regional TV networks and whatnot. So the big story obviously coming into this game is Aaron Rodgers' health status, so we may as well check the injury report here in a moment as well. I'm going to try and pull this up for everyone. Let's see. I got to zoom in on it. You got a pretty or I shouldn't say healthy, is probably not the best word to use when describing the injury report, but it's a rather long list of names. Aaron Rodgers, of course, was a non-participant heading into Wednesday's practice. We'll get a status. He was attempting to practice and wants to play because of his history with the Bears. Also, you know what? He's a gamer. He's a competitor. He wants to help his team. Darius Slay's in the concussion protocol. He was a full participant. Brian, I don't really like what Mike Tomlin had to say in his presser. He talked about James Pierre playing himself into more playing time, but if Darius Slay is healthy and available, Slay is going to play. And I'm like, maybe we should juggle that a little bit because Pierre's been on kind of a hot streak. Go with the hot hand. I know Tomlin doesn't like to yank anyone because of injury or have them lose their job. I'd be more inclined. Slay worries me anymore. You know what I mean? He's in the Patrick Peterson conversation.
I understand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the way James Pierre has been playing, it's a difficult conversation. I know Tomlin said in his presser that you're always going to lean towards the veteran presence, but he also said they're going to find ways to get James Pierre in the game because he's earned that right. So, Slay may get the start, but we'll see. We'll have to see what his snap count ends up looking like.
Yeah, we'll see. And I mean, it's not like you can't have Slay out there, but some of these obvious passing down, some of the things the Steelers want to do, some of the man versus zone schemes, they've cleaned up the secondary, having switched Ramsey there, which is almost nothing short of a miracle, and also with the trade of Kyle Duggar and the way those two have been playing. We'll talk about them up against Caleb Williams in this Bears and Ben Johnson offense here in a second. Jaylen Warren, non-participant with his ankle, a little worrisome there. But Kenneth Gainwell stepped up admirably. Said they was cleared to come back in the game on Sunday, just did not return. So, maybe this could be a situation with some rest. Cole Holcomb's back after basically 2 weeks off, sick. And these sick bugs are going around the league. I think the Dolphins had like 6 people sick on their injury report coming up for this week's game too. Alex Highsmith still out with a pectoral muscle. We'll see if he returns to practice this week. He was out last Sunday. Isaac Seumalo, who did play, still kind of babying this pec injury along as well. Jonnu Smith, veteran day of rest. TJ Watt, veteran day of rest. Cameron Hayward, veteran day of rest. Keyshawn Williams, concussion protocol. We get over to the Chicago Bears. Jaquan Brisker, Kevin Byard, both had the day off, but one due to a shoulder injury. The other one, Byard, was a veteran rest. Tremaine Edmonds, you remember that's Terrell Edmonds' brother, fantastic inside linebacker, middle linebacker, did not practice with a groin injury. TJ Edwards also in that category with a hamstring. Grady Jarrett, veteran day of rest. He's one of those big boys up front for the Bears defensive line. Noah Sewell, another linebacker with an elbow. Drew Dahlman, center, limited with a knee. Kyler Gordon, corner, calf, limited. Travis Homer, basically kind of like one of these special teams guys and maybe a change of pace back, limited. Jalen Johnson, corner, fantastic corner, limited. His counterpart starting on the other side, Tyreek Stevenson, limited with a hip and calf. DeAndre Swift starting basically their horse at running back, hip injury, limited. Darnell Wright, tackle, we remember talking about him during the draft process. He's come around, but he's also dealing with a pec injury. They have a lot of attrition to deal with here, and there's going to be some guys playing on both sides of the ball with some injuries that they're going to have to deal with. So you're going to have to let's keep an eye on this. We'll post some of this out on our social media. I was even thinking about a quick video update if I could get to it, because there's a lot here, and a lot, at stake for both teams. Like I said, they're just they're by a thin margin in I'm going to say competitive division still, Brian, even though it's far more competitive maybe in the, the NFC North, even though the standings don't necessarily reflect that. You still got the Lions and Packers with winning records, that Chicago's got to look over their shoulder toward. The Vikings, they're 4-6, but that's a team, that almost had a bye last year. Had to play the Lions for that right. On our side, you're looking over the Baltimore Ravens now and how they're having a little bit of an easier schedule. Lamar's still kind of in and out with the injury picture, but Joe Burrow coming back for the Bengals. Huge win for the Steelers, though. Bengals sitting at 3-7 are far down, and they're only a game above the Cleveland Browns, who get the Raiders this week, with Shedeur Sanders making his first NFL start. So there's a lot of goings on when you're looking around the two North divisions.
Yeah, absolutely there is. I mean, the NFC North definitely more competitive than the AFC North right now. The AFC North is a 2-horse race, and some people are going to say it's really a 1-horse race. It's just inevitable that the Ravens are going to take over. I'm not convinced of that yet, even though I have said the same thing. I just have to see how the next couple games play out before I make my my prognostication.
I know, and I know you were feeling a certain way about, Montez Sweat. He's up there in the sack lead around the league. You have Grady Jarrett, Gervon Dexter, and Austin Booker, TJ Edwards, Tremaine Edmonds. They're your linebackers. Jaquan Brisker with Kevin Byard. Then you have CJ Gardner-Johnson, Jalen Jones, Tyreek Stevenson, Nashawn Wright. You got a number of decent corners. So this Bears defense, solid, right? I was talking about this. Yeah, I was talking about this in the last game or on the last podcast. And I'm all over the place. I haven't had enough coffee yet today, just to put it out there. The Bears, I didn't get through all the housekeeping, Brian. Bears are the slight kind of home favorite, as you might expect going into Soldier Field. -2.5, though. So it's not even the standard 3 points.
Not even a field goal.
Yeah, not even a field goal. 45.5. It's on the lower end of your, over unders. I know it's not quite 42, but the Bears have been putting up a little bit of points here over the last few games. They only had 19 against the Vikings the previous week, but 24 against the Giants, and then 47 in that shootout against the Bengals where, they gave up 42. 16 against the Ravens, 26 against the Saints, and 25 against the Commanders. Those are their last 5 games. Their wins all coming against teams. I don't know that any of these teams have a winning record that they've defeated. The Dallas Cowboys, the Raiders, Commanders, Saints, Bengals, Giants, and Vikings. So
they've had a weak schedule. Mm-hmm. Let me, because I want to step back a second. I said that I thought the Bears defense was very good. I'm looking at some numbers now. They're not very good. They are almost a mirror of what we have talked about the Steelers defense being. If they get turnovers, then they'll stop you and then they can win the game. They are an opportunistic defense, but they actually are I think 26th in rushing. They're low in passing. They give up a ton of yards. So they're you see the parallels here?
Well, they're first. Okay, so let's give you an idea. The Steelers are 4th at takeaway differential with +8 on the season. Mm-hmm. The Bears are first with +16. They have a whole 8 more because Caleb Williams isn't turning the ball over as much this season. In fact, Caleb Williams on the year, 2,329 yards, 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's been sacked 16 times. However, completing fewer than 60% of his passes by a small margin, 59.7. So he can be rattled. He can be got to. He is a guy that, much like we were talking about with turned Joe Flacco back into a pumpkin last week and made Joe Flacco. The pick 6 gets that guy, doesn't it? It's like if he throws one, it's probably going to go to the house. When you're looking at Caleb Johnson, he has fumbled 5 times on the year, twice in 2 different games against the Saints and also against the Raiders. So you still got a guy that's a second-year quarterback in the league with a first-year head coach, a first-year system. And I still think that puts the favor or the advantage to a Steelers defense that I think is finally figuring it out. And even if Alex Highsmith isn't healthy, Nick Herbig's been nothing short of excellent, I believe, on the other side, while all of the focus and attention has been on TJ Watt.
Yeah, that's true. Look, I don't know. I really don't know enough about the Bears' offensive line to make any judgments. I have been and concerned all year about TJ essentially vanishing through big portions of games. Every now, he shows up, but in the last Bengals game, he did a really good job of knowing he wasn't getting there and getting his hands up. He was pulling some Cam Hayward duty, right, batting balls down. I don't know whether they're going to have the depth on their offensive line to do everything that everybody else does to TJ and let Nick Herbig free. We'll see. I think Nick has the speed and the pass rush moves to make somebody pay if they keep leaving him on an island against a tackle, right? So if they're going to focus heavily on TJ, he just has to, at some point in every game, they leave him one-on-one. Right, it happens, and he just has to make sure he can take advantage of those instances when they exist. And Nick's got to make him pay on the other side. we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. The offensive line and some of the featured players for the Chicago Bears. Drew Dolman, who I had mentioned just a short moment ago on the injury report. So we'll see what his status is for the game. And then right next to him, Jonah Jackson, Joe Thuney. Joe Thuney, formerly of the Kansas City Chiefs. Jackson, kind of a journeyman interior lineman. Darnell Wright was drafted there, I believe, out of Tennessee. And then Theo Benedict is on the left tackle side. So not necessarily the strongest, but what I guess I'm saying about Williams is he's been getting rid of the ball at least. The offense has been doing enough in Chicago. The Bengals were able to pressure him, but the Bengals also weren't able to cover in that shootout game, right? So where'd that ball go to at the end? One of the tight ends. They have one of the better tight end rooms in the league right along there with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So they've got Colston Loveland, the rookie, along with veterans Cole Kmet and Durham Smythe. Kmet and Loveland both are capable receivers, but they also have capable receivers. They have DJ Moore, they have Roma Dunze in his second year. Behind them, Luther Burden, Olamide Zaccheaus. So they've got some role players. They've got some players that are capable, and then of course DeAndre Swift is the running back. Swift leads the team this season with 134 carries for 634 yards, 4 touchdowns. So you had mentioned just statistics wise when we're talking about the Steelers versus the Bears and how they match up. The Steelers still 22nd in passing, 29th in running the ball. The Bears are 13th and 2nd. So they really do they try to make a focus on running the football, but a great Kyle Monangai is also, I'm not sure if I'm saying his name properly, but he has 3 touchdowns on the year, as does Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams has 272 yards. So this is a guy kind of like facing a Lamar Jackson within your own division, where you've got to kind of spy him. You got to keep an eye on him, keep him contained. And I think we're going to see some more of like that 3 inside linebacker look, where you probably have Peyton Wilson with Patrick Queen and maybe Malik Harrison or Cole Holcomb. I think they're going to stretch that part of the middle of the field. Maybe bring down Duggar, maybe even add Chuck Clark into this mix as an extra safety. And just try and prevent them from running the ball. Try and see if you can get them to throw or pass. Now, when we're talking about statistically, the Steelers are still dead last in pass defense, even though they bottled up a lot of that was from the first Bengals game, not the second one. So we've seen it improve. We've seen it improve over the last few weeks. But as you were alluding to earlier, the Bears are 23rd against the pass, 231 yards on average. That's 30 yards fewer per game than the Steelers defense. So that's like 1 big play or 2, kind of third and long conversions when we're talking defensively. Against the run, though, they're 25th. They're giving up 133 yards. That's almost the polar opposite, about 25 to 30-ish yards more than what the Steelers are giving up against the run. So Steelers have improved a little bit against the run, but then again, teams are trying to attack them sometimes by passing the ball, moving some of these players around on the field, like we were talking about in our previous preview. Patrick Queen, trying to see where he's going to be on the field, trying to see if you get the right matchups, man or zone. And the Steelers were mixing that up pretty good. You had Joey Porter playing man. Sometimes he wasn't on Jamar Chase the entire game, but they would mix it up. They didn't just put him on T. Higgins the whole time. They also trusted James Pierre against Jamar Chase too.
Yes, they did.
So I do have a confidence level with the Steelers secondary improving when you play against those kinds of guys. I don't know that the Bears offensive line is much better than what the Cincinnati Bengals had. It's a winnable game. Playing in Chicago's tough. It's a first-year coach tough. It's an unpredictable quarterback. It can run dual threat kind of unpredictability tough. So I know you were more worried about this one, and then everybody looks at that big, do you start saying trap game here when it comes to do they look past into the Chicago or to the Buffalo Bills after the Chicago Bears? I don't think so. I don't think anyone's overlooking the Bears and their record.
You can't overlook a 7-3 team.
No,
you just can't. This is this is going to be, again, a broken record, but this is the way they win games. Stop the run, win the turnover battle. If they don't do those two things, in fact, if they don't do both of those things in this game, they probably lose this game. If they can stop the run and they don't lose the turnover battle, I think they will come out of Chicago with a win. The real question is, can they manage to do that? I have some concerns with them stopping the run. This is a Bears team that runs the ball very well. And we'll have to see. They were able to stop, Indianapolis's run game. They schemed well for it, but now the Bears will have been able to see that tape and understand what the Steelers were doing in those instances. So it's not going to be a surprise when they switch how they're playing defense. Are the Bears going to be smart enough with Ben Johnson to get plays in that fit the scheme that the Steelers end up being? There's been some concern that the Steelers are very transparent with what they run, right? We're going to run this kind of defense at this point in time, and the other teams know they're going to run it, so they call a play that's designed to beat that kind of a defense. I'm just not sure they're going to do both of those things. But if they do, if they can stop the run and they don't lose the turnover battle, I think they'll win the game. If they fail on either one of those, I think they lose.
Now, that's a very important point. And of course, Ben Johnson, as the offensive coordinator to the previous 2 or 3 years with the Detroit Lions, their big turnaround under head coach Dan Campbell. Lions coming out of obscurity, and what did they do? They ran the ball. David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs. I just don't know that they've got the same, not necessarily the same personnel, but they're certainly, like I was saying, with these two running backs, and then also with Caleb Williams, a little bit more fleet of foot than your Jared Goff. But some of that's also because Caleb Williams is going to have the same tendencies. I'm not going to say he's nearly as bad as Justin Fields, who was just benched in New York for Tyrod Taylor this weekend. Fields holds onto the ball way too long now. Williams, I don't know that he processes the defenses fast. I don't know that he's still there, right? This is a top overall pick coming out of college. There's a pedigree there that even Justin Fields didn't have, and that's the reason why Justin Fields is no longer in Chicago. But still, Caleb Williams is, I think, still kind of sorting these things out as the season goes on. And the Bears, just to give you kind of a glimpse, I was going to do like a game by game. Let's see, offensively, there's only 3 of their games so far this season where they have failed to run for 100 yards. It's a collective, and one of those was against the Ravens. They were only 4 yards shy. The other 2 were against the Cowboys and Raiders in weeks 3 and 4. They put up 283 rushing yards on the Cincinnati Bengals earlier this month. They put up 222 on the New Orleans Saints back in October, and then they went 171 against the Giants. So they're capable. The Commanders, I don't know what you want to think about the Commanders, Vikings, and Lions defenses. They should be pretty strong, at least average, I would say. I know the Commanders are kind of on the backside. They've got some injuries and stuff. They're not the same Commanders team that Dan Quinn was coaching last year, but to still throw 145 down on them, 140 on the Vikings, 134 on the Detroit Lions. However, let's point this out. That 134 and 119 against the Lions and Vikings within their own division were both losses. And the Lions and part of that is too, Lions put over 50 points on this Bears defense. The Vikings were able to put 27 on them. They've given up, they gave up 42 to the Bengals, 30 to the Ravens. So they've given up 24 or better in 6 of these games and 30 or more in half of those. So they could be scored on. But now the question becomes, what does the Steelers offense look like? And does Aaron Rodgers play? And I know you were just asking me that question. Wrist injury, there's some speculation. Local media is talking about whether or not Aaron can play with that left wrist. Can he take snaps, particularly under center, even out of shotgun? Can he hand the ball off? How does that affect, does he wince or something when he holds the ball a certain way? I don't know how this is affecting him. Someone was speculating, I think it was Dr. David Cho, who's on Sirius XM radio, whether they could have put a screw in there and he'd be ready, maybe give him a week off and then he'd be ready to go. Or I don't really know what's going on with this. We don't know if it's a fracture. They've been very tight-lipped on what this could be. I just know that Aaron Rodgers wants to play, whether it's better for Aaron Rodgers to play or not. I know Mike Tomlin's stubborn enough. That's what we said with Darius Slay, that he will put Aaron Rodgers out there no matter what he says about trusting Mason Rudolph. That just hasn't been the case. I feel like he's always went with another option when faced with Rudolph or the other guy. So I feel comfortable enough with a healthy Mason Rudolph based on a half of football and based on what he's been able to do in the past with spot starts, that this team can score, that they can put up some points, that they can move the ball. That's a defense that they should be able to do it against. I don't think they're going to be that one-dimensional if Mason is the guy versus Rodgers. But I also think that they could become pretty one-dimensional, and we don't know what Jaylen Warren's going to be doing. If they become one-dimensional and can't run the football, do we get the Aaron Rodgers of the Los Angeles Chargers game? Or portions of the last game? Yeah. It's...
Your point is valid. Look, the Bears defense, right, in the red zone, almost 60% of the time they're letting touchdowns happen. So if we can get the ball moved, we can get in the red zone, we should be able to score, right? It's a better 60% is pretty high. That being said, their third down defense is pretty good. Only a third of the time are giving up first downs on third. So we have to stay on schedule, right? Which means if we can't run the ball and we become pass heavy and one-dimensional, I think the offense is going to stall out. That's not how they're designed, right? But running the ball can actually also be enhanced via these short passes and dump-offs. Right? That just becomes an extension of your running game in those instances. If they can do that and they can get those guys open so that they are gaining positive yardage and we stay ahead of the sticks, I think we can move the ball on this team. They give up yards. It'll be a question of whether we can do that or not. Too many times those dump offs have gone for 1 or none yards. You know what I mean? Those short passes have been getting defended too easily. So we have to see what the offense looks like. You're gonna be stunned by what I'm about to say. Because I have not been a proponent of Mr.
Speak into
Rudolph,
my good ear, my friend.
The red-nosed quarterback over the years. I actually am probably more comfortable right now with Mason running this offense than I am with Aaron Rodgers running this offense. From what I've seen through the first set of games, I'm not impressed. Yes, he's had moments of old Aaron Rodgers-like style, but those have been fewer and further between, and there has been much more of a mess. There's been much more Jets Aaron Rodgers than there has been Green Bay Packers Aaron Rodgers this year. And so at this point, I'm much more comfortable with Mason being able to actually move this team down the field than I am with Aaron. That's just the way I feel. I expect if Aaron plays that we will see the same kind of hit or miss offense we've been seeing. They'll have a couple drives that'll look good. If they get set up easily by turnovers and are in short fields, they'll score. And when they're not, if they have a long field the majority of the time, they will putter out. That's what I expect. And not knowing whether he's going to play or not makes it a very difficult game to handicap and to decide what you think is going to happen. My expectation is that Aaron Rodgers will actually play and start the game. Hopefully he doesn't get hurt or more worse off. But even if he does, I just am not impressed with the way the offense has played with Aaron Rodgers running it.
And I think Mason's one of these guys. He's definitely a gunslinger. He can definitely throw a nice deep ball. I think he's decently accurate. He's one of the only other Steelers quarterbacks others than since Ben Roethlisberger. The other one was Russell Wilson in that shootout against the Bengals in Cincinnati last year to throw for over 300 yards in a Steelers uniform under center. Rodgers hasn't done it yet. No one else did it. Fields hasn't done it. Trubisky and Pickett didn't get anywhere near that. And so I have some confidence.
Yeah. Come on. Mitch Trubisky had a had a hard time getting to 200 yards.
Oh, I know. So did Pickett, right? So, I mean, that's where you see a little bit of an improvement with Rodgers, but it's like this isn't like, an air raid offense from the Pittsburgh Steelers and Arthur Smith. And, in that context, too, I've been a little disappointed with Jonnu Smith. But he's been
extremely,
open.
to be honest with you.
What's that?
Yeah. I've been extremely disappointed with how they've used Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, not only used him, but when he is open, they miss him.
both he and DK drop balls that I don't think they should drop. Look, I love DK, and I've wanted DK to be on this team since he came out. So I was thrilled when they got him. But I will tell you, whether it is scheme fit, whether it's the way they're running the offense, I just don't. They certainly are not getting the bang for the buck right now.
I totally agree with that. I know some folks are going to come out. I've been hearing this cherry-picked stat among the various media, social media, radio, TV. Well, first half offense, the Steelers scored 10 points with Aaron Rodgers. And then Mason Rudolph comes out there and guess what? They scored 10 points. And it's like, well, Mason threw one extra pass, but he completed more passes, threw for more yards. He did have the touchdown, but the Steelers punted 3 times in the first half. They didn't punt at all once Mason came in there. You had 3 possessions in the second half, 15-play drive and a 12-play drive, other than the victory formation, one kneel down. That was the only other possession that they had. That's where you got the 10 points. 71 yards, 85 yards, 7 minutes, 37 seconds, 6 minutes, and 1 second. Just a tick above 6 minutes. Those were the 2 longest possessions in the game. Rodgers had a 3-and-out, 3-and-7. He had a 5 plays for 22 yards, and then also 9 plays for 22 yards. Excruciating, especially when you're getting some of these, penalties and everything like that. They've been throwing short of the sticks, Brian, as particularly Aaron Rodgers has, and expecting to break tackles and gain yards. And I could see that when you're throwing to the backs, you're throwing to somebody like Darnell Washington, who got the angry run scepter. He was the only nominee from Kyle Brandt this week. It was all 3 of them. They just showed all 3 of those broken tackles. They could have ran one of the other catches too, because he mowed someone else down during that. His usage been pretty good. Pat Freiermuth also a little non-existent. These guys got to get more involved. I believe wholeheartedly. I've always been a Mason Rudolph fan. You do know that I'm also a DK Metcalf fan. I think Mason's probably got the timing down. I know there's timing that's different with the quarterbacks, but the difference is here. We've been talking about Rodgers having a little bit of happy feet, maybe seeing some ghosts, moving a little bit. Does that transpire more when he has the injury and wants to avoid contact? Does he move up into some pressure? Mason was just standing in there. And I know Mason did move on one. He had like a little scramble and stuff like that. He's capable when necessary. It's not his game, but he's always been a pocket passer. And no matter what you want to say about dual threat quarterbacks and guys who run the football, this is still a league where you got to be. Josh Allen, he throws from the pocket, dangerous. He's capable of extending plays, running around, doing that. Caleb Williams isn't to Josh Allen's level yet. That's what they would aspire. But when he leans on maybe scrambling a little too much and everything's like a little bootleg, or the play breaks down and he has to use his feet, and then mistakes happen. And that's where I think this edge could be in the game. I do hope they at least sit Rodgers for a week. I know there's a lot of stubbornness. They're going to try and rush him out there. I don't know how serious it is. I know he wants to play. I know he wants to be there for his teammates. He was right outside the locker room after the game, greeting everyone. I admire and I appreciate all of that. I sound like Mike Tomlin myself now in saying that. I admire and appreciate the contributions of those young men. But I don't want to. Let's just say Rudolph isn't any good. And now you also have a hurt Aaron Rodgers. You're not going to go to Will Howard. I'm sorry. I mean, unless this team at 6-4, the people that are talking about Will Howard, this is a 6th-round rookie. This is a guy that's been hurt up until last week. He finally got to dress, and he only dressed because they dress emergency quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Everybody else had to get hurt, Rodgers and Rudolph, for him to come into the game in that scenario. He has not had to practice, nor do these rookies or third string or even the backup quarterbacks generally get a whole lot of snaps or reps in practice to begin with. And then you've got John Reese Plumlee, who was added, probably running the scout team to emulate Caleb Williams at quarterback on the scout team. So
one would assume, since Mike Tomlin called Will Howard out on that, saying, I don't think we're going to get a lot of quality replications from Will Howard.
So, Brian, prediction time. So we don't know the quarterback. I would feel a lot more confident with Mason Rudolph playing. But having said that, Aaron Rodgers owns the Chicago Bears. This could be a close game. I think the Steelers defense, I think they're more than capable. I think they're cleaning things up. I think this one it's tough because I think both teams are in the same kind of pile, but the Steelers they've beaten a few more quality teams than maybe what the Bears have. A win still.
Bears haven't beaten a quality team.
Yeah,
we've
Bears,
at least beaten 2.
Yeah, at least 2, maybe 3, you could say. So, I mean, I have the Steelers. It might be a close one. We shall see. Oh, I was going to do. I know you're going to grab the bobblehead. I should have grabbed this one. I should have grabbed this one last week. Let me prepare here. Yeah, you're getting there. This is the most ginormous thing that I have in my arsenal, and the stand's a little loose right now too. There we go. So Woodstock. And it's like, just look at that.
It's a nice
enormous.
nod.
It's enormous.
All right, so we're going with the bobblehead that actually looks more like me.
Yes, you have more than one of you?
My Mohawk bobblehead.
Oh my goodness, I don't think I realized you had 2 bobbleheads. So the one looks like Bryan Cranston, the other one looks like Brian Roach. So,
well, which one's which?
One's Heisenberg and one's...
Which one's Heisenberg?
Heisenberg. The Mohawk is not Heisenberg.
This is.
Go with Heisenberg.
So you're saying this one looks more like me?
Oh, I mean, that's the you I'm used to. Yeah.
Well, I haven't had the Mohawk in over a year now, so
I
haven't had the Mohawk. But, well, you know what? We've been using the Mohawk one, so I'm going to stick with him. The Mohawk says yes. He says the Steelers are going to win. He doesn't give reasons for that. He just says yes. I am going to tell you that I don't think they will. And here's why. I don't think they're going to be effective stopping the run, and I'm concerned they will lose the turnover battle. I put the caveat on it already. If they do both those things, then I think they can win this game. If they don't, they lose. And I'm leaning towards they're probably going to lose a very close game by a point or 2.
Yeah, if that be the case... in the overall standings, that hurts. In the conference standings, division standings, it might not, but you got to keep the edge on the Baltimore Ravens, and especially, yes, Buffalo Bills coming to town in 1 week.
They really need this win. Yeah. I mean, and I'm going to keep saying this. As long as the Ravens keep winning, they have to keep winning. Otherwise, if the Ravens catch them, I believe the Ravens' schedule dictates in such a way that they will be able to move forward.
Totally. I'm with you there too as well, my friend. All righty. That'll do it for us, folks. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Leave a rating or review wherever you may be watching or listening from. Send us your predictions there in the comments as well. It's a place they don't win often. They've only done it once.
I said it's much like Philadelphia.
Yeah.
They don't play well here, so we'll have to see.
Yeah, it's just one of those buildings where it's like, let's get them out of there, so then maybe the hex or whatever, the curse that's on them, gets washed away. But they did it in 2017. Let's see if they can do it again here in 2025.
That didn't work in Philly. They were just as bad at the vet as they were as they are at the Link. So
well, that whole city, there's just something about it. Anyways, all right, my friend, thanks for joining me once again. Until next time, that's Mr. Bryony Roach. My name is Joe Kuzma, and as always, we encourage everyone out there to be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.